Welcome to the C3 Experience. It is Colin and Cody coming at you tonight. Kale is busy. We're going to talk some Big Ten football, talk our Huskers.
I can just do this whole show on the Huskers if you want me to.
Yeah, we should do a show on the Huskers. We'll just do the Huskers tonight. We'll do Big Ten later. How's that sound?
I'm ready.
Oh, big week, obviously. Kind of everyone's final. Get your depth charts built before heading into game week.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of position battles will be decided this week.
Yeah, so should start seeing between tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, a lot of these coaches' press conferences. We'll probably be hearing a lot of starters named at quarterback and different, I always enjoy the seniors that get placed on a scholarship. I mean, to keep it local, we'll find out who get the single digits because I know Nebraska has 6 of them they're going to be handing out. So, be interesting. Always a lot of
Does that even matter?
no.
Like who gets the single digits?
No, but it's something to talk about. Because you're at the point now where you've beat every single thing to a freaking bush, dead end, whatever phrase you want to use. So now people just try and find something to talk about. Unless you're, kicking off a player 2 weeks before the season starts and 30 days after he joined the team.
Well, and idiots are idiots.
Yep. Oh man, that last night, I think I can't remember if it was you who sent me what was your favorite Tyke Hayes moment at Nebraska?
Well, here's one thing that I'll say on that, and then we're going to move on because I don't want to get into the weeds of that. But
Yeah,
a leopard spots don't change,
correct.
right? Once a leopard, always a leopard.
Right. And with that, should we just dive on into the Big Ten?
Yeah, let's roll it.
All right. We are going to lead off with some Big Ten narratives. And not even really narratives, just kind of some headlines. Big Ten going to win a 4th straight title?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of great teams in this country that we've talked about, in the last 3 episodes across the P4. But I don't know if anyone's got a top 3 that can stack up to the Big Tens.
Yes, he does. I mean, the SEC is actually probably a little deeper at the top than the Big Ten is.
I agree.
Like if you're A tier and B tiering.
Yeah.
The Big Ten's kind of got the big 3 of Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State, and I keep waiting for the year that Indiana's going to falter because it's going to happen.
I think we could say the same we keep waiting for USC to come back.
Yeah, I think this might be the year for USC to kind of get the horses back in the wagon. You just can't keep going down Indiana's path and sustain success, I don't think.
Right. And you've talked about it with just going to the portal.
Right. I don't think you can just you can go to the portal and bring in 5-6 guys that you need to help your team.
Yeah.
But when you're continually bringing in 20 guys out of the portal every year, at some point you're going to get some me guys that don't want to be we guys.
Well, and I think another big thing with Indiana, and we'll get into it when we talk Indiana more, but how long can you keep the same staff together before they're getting poached?
Well, I don't know that that's necessarily a problem because these guys have been with him for so long. I think there's a lot of loyalty there now because
they lost their strength coach to Tennessee.
Well,
That's
but
not a
I'm talking.
coordinator though.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
talking about coordinators. Like those guys have been with him for so long. Like he gave them their opportunities, and like has just took them with him, which
Right.
is kind of interesting because you don't usually see that work out for people.
Right. I mean, I'm drawing a blank on his name. The Ohio State OC that left to go to USF.
Brian Hartline.
Yeah, that was. I never saw him leaving Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, but if your dream is to be a head coach, you got to go get your feet wet somewhere, right?
Right.
Like, at
It-
some point, it all depends on what your motive is in life.
right.
Like, are you happy with being an offensive coordinator?
Right.
And let's be honest, like these coordinators might be sticking around with Signetti because Signetti's not a spring chicken. Like
Right. Well,
he's probably got less than 5 years left, I would bet.
yeah. I right. Yes, 100%. And I mean, Signetti has fought for him to get him paid. I mean, they're all top 10 highest paid OC, highest paid DC. Like he takes care of them. They get their money.
Right,
But I mean, it's you talked about it when we talked SEC with Golding. Like Golding didn't even want the head coach job.
right.
And he's just kind of last man standing as far as staff members. I mean, obviously Ole Miss could have got basically whoever they wanted, but I think they wanted to keep a lot of the core together.
Right. I think them hiring Golding or talking Golden into taking that job was them trying to keep their core there,
Yeah.
which it didn't. I mean, outside of two guys, it really didn't work.
Yeah. Which if you've seen On Three's breaking news from about 3 hours ago, 15 players got their TRO pass to come back and play college for a fifth year. And four of them were Ole Miss defensive players.
That is so dumb.
I agree
I'm
100%.
I'm I'm
They've
sorry,
literally
but
played preseason games.
yes, that is so dumb.
Like the
Like
yeah,
they
like
need to get this shit figured out and figured out quickly.
yeah. It was like a SMU running back, four defensive players from Ole Miss, player from Cal. I'm trying to remember the DN that they had on the cover. I don't know if you have On Three pulled up right now or not, but he
I
had two
don't.
sacks in his last preseason game, and now he's going back.
Oh, the dude from Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
just so dumb. I'm over it.
yeah. Yep. All right. This one, I know you have some opinions on this, so I'm gonna read the headline, and I'm just gonna let you vent. Uh, when will Tony Petitti require the Big Ten to go to a 9+1 model like the other three conferences? This season, Nebraska, Indiana, Penn State, USC, and Washington all don't play P4 or Notre Dame outside of the conference, with the caveat being Nebraska had to cancel the Tennessee series due to stadium upgrades.
I mean, I think Petiti will. I think it's coming next year.
Yeah.
Like you can't be the only conference that's not doing it.
Do you think this is a play for the 2014 playoff?
Yep.
Yeah. So that was, 'cause I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I was surprised at how outspoken he was at Big Ten Media Days about, no, we're not going to force our guys, our, you know, member institutions to go out and find another out of conference. Like, it's up to each team what they want to do with their schedule.
Right. But I mean, if everybody else is doing it, and and maybe there will be like an alliance between the Power Four teams, and
Yeah.
that's the concession. Like if you guys agree to playing a 9+1 schedule, we'll agree to a 2014 playoff.
Right. And I mean, we've seen enough of Petiti now that Petiti's always got more. behind the scenes going on than what meets the eye. There's
Right.
always a play when he's speaking. It's always to make a point, to, you know, an optical illusion. I'm going to say this, but behind the scenes, I'm trying to do the opposite. There's there's always something behind it. Now we get into new coaches. Pat Fitzgerald joins Michigan State. Kyle Whittingham joins Michigan. Matt Campbell joins Penn State, and Bob Chesney joins UCLA. I think these are all great hires. The one that I think is going to be tough is Pat Fitzgerald. He's been gone for a couple of years. He's going into Michigan State where it has not been good under Jonathan Smith. There's going to be a lot of, kind of like what you talked about with Summerall. There's a lot of culture stuff that has to happen there.
I disagree. I think he's going to get Penn State or Michigan State cooking in a hurry.
Okay.
I think there's two coaches on this list that have a bigger or a tougher job than people think.
You were about to say something that I was so excited to talk about because you and I have talked about it a million times. But we'll go with this first thing with what you're talking about. So
I
tough,
think,
tougher jobs, Matt Campbell.
yeah, because he brought everybody over with him from Iowa State. Now, your culture's in place. You know what you got in players. All your coaches are the same. The continuity is great. Big Ten football is different than Big 12 football, and
Right,
he's going to figure that out in a hurry.
right.
Now, I mean, they do play three cupcakes to start the year, so they're probably going to start out 3-0, and once a team gets hot,
Right.
things change in a hurry. But
I think it was a very big deal that he kept Terry Smith on staff.
yeah, but why? I guess is my question.
Why do I think it's a big deal, or why do you keep it on set?
Why do you think it's a big deal?
I think Terry Smith has a lot to do with like the alumni base. So that's where I'm going with more of the alumni. People aren't going to be, you know, trying to crack down every door, trying to like I don't know the correct terminology for this, but like trying to poke holes in every system because there's still a Penn State guy there. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe you thought it had to do with like culture, but
No, no, no.
I'm like, dude, there's no guys that were at Penn State there
Right,
last year still there. There was like five of them.
right. No, no. It's to me, it has to do with the alumni base and the fan base.
The other job that I think will always be tough is I think Bob Chesney is a really good head coach,
I'm
but I
really
think
excited to talk about this.
I think UCLA will always be a tough job. There's
You and
too much
I,
there's too much to do in LA.
you and I have texted about this ever since he got hired. We both believe this is 100% just a stepping stone job.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could even see it as early as we talked about SEC guys that could get fired. One of the guys we didn't talk about was Heupel,
Yeah.
but say Heupel gets fired this year, I could 100% see Chesney taking that Tennessee job.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to me Chesney doesn't fit the UCLA culture. Um, now I think he's got some really good players there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, but I mean I don't know. I could be totally off base, totally wrong, but I see that UCLA job being a tougher job than people think.
Well, and we've talked about it. UCLA's in a lot of debt.
Well, yeah, a lot of debt and like the alumni. I mean, I guess I should say who in LA isn't in a lot of debt.
Right.
Like Look at the Dodgers.
Yeah,
Uh,
dude.
but
Yeah.
um, like the other thing is the alumni. They're not funneling their money back into UCLA,
Right.
into
Right.
football. Like they've got other things to donate their money to in LA.
Right. And I think they have a big issue with playing their home games an hour, well, with traffic, an hour away from campus.
Right.
And as the
Correct.
crow flies, it's like 15 minutes. But you get into Los Angeles traffic, Pasadena to the Rose Bowl. Well, I guess not Pasadena, because that's where the Rose Bowl is, but where UCLA is at.
Right.
Brentwood. Brentwood, I think, is what it is.
Yes. Brentwood, Pasadena.
Right. Now, I'm put together a quick short list of coaches that narrative wise are on the hot seat. Luke Fickle, I
Agree.
think, and I think it's really going to get hot as long as Eck keeps winning at New Mexico. And then Mike Loxley,
Disagree.
is that a because of what he's doing in recruiting and because it's Maryland?
Yes.
Okay.
Who the hell is Maryland going to go get that's better than Mike Loxley?
I don't know.
Like,
I mean,
I think Loxley is like ingrained there with the
yeah,
boosters and the athletic department. Like, I think he's got a lot of support there,
right.
and I just don't know that you're going to do any better. And
Yeah,
if you do fire Mike Loxley, you're getting rid of all progress that he's made there,
right. Right.
because
And
all those guys are going to go in the portal if he leaves.
they have a very talented roster. One less talented player, as we found out this week, but and then the last one was Lincoln Riley.
Disagree.
I disagree wholeheartedly, but I'm going based off of we've heard Pate talk about it, we've heard Danny Cannell talk about it, we've heard Joel Klatt talk about it. Everyone firmly believes if they're not in the playoff, he's out. I don't believe that.
I don't think so either.
I can see the
Again, it
I
goes
can see why
back.
they're saying that.
It goes back to what I've been harping on all along with talking about these
Right.
coaches hot seats. Is it's a different age. Like, instead of paying that buyout, look at Luke Fickell. Like, that dude would have been fired last year in
Right.
5 years ago.
Right.
But his buyout is so high that what did Wisconsin do? Instead of paying him that money in that buyout, they invested it in the team.
Right. And they got a really good recruiting class. They got some. I mean,
Right.
we're going to talk about it when we talk about Wisconsin, but they went and got Abu Sama from Iowa State, the running back.
Right.
They've added some defensive guys. It's and he. Yeah, I think when they came out last year and gave him his support, talked about we're going to give him more NIL money, and then they turn around and they knock off a ranked Washington. They win was it what, three of their last four? Like I
Mm-hmm.
think he got some confidence. I think the players got some confidence because they're not playing wondering if he's going to be their coach, if they're going to be playing for Wisconsin next year. I think there's a lot that
Yeah.
goes along with that.
Right.
But I also know that if he has another bad season and Jason Eck keeps tearing it up at New Mexico, there's going to be a lot of boosters and fans that are going to be after that. All right, quick rundown of the non-con games. I kind of broke it in half. Do you want me just to read them all at one?
Yeah, I mean, because really the only there's really nothing for us to talk about here
because
because
we've talked about them in the
we've
other
talked about them
conferences.
all. Yeah, we talked about Ohio State, Texas. We talked about Oklahoma, Michigan. We haven't talked about Wisconsin, Notre Dame, and that game's in Lambeau. That's going to
Right.
be interesting.
Week
Uh,
one.
that's just that game is going to set the tone for who Wisconsin is.
Right.
I
I mean,
think.
we talked about Minnesota, Mississippi State. We talked about Northwestern Colorado, Maryland, Virginia Tech. Um, the so
I,
the
Iowa,
other
Iowa
game on
State
the
might be the first one to 10.
right, and Oregon, Boise State, I threw on here just because it's intriguing because I want to see because Boise State's everyone's pick for the group of six,
Right.
and they're in the Mountain West Conference now, where I just want to see how Boise State stacks up.
I just wish they would change that rule to a Power Six program or Notre Dame, whatever team's ranked higher,
Right,
is an
right.
automatic bid into the playoffs.
Do you think they're not doing that because they're trying to force Notre Dame into a conference?
Yes, wholeheartedly.
Yeah. All right, let's get into team and
Here,
schedule breakdowns.
here's an interesting question
Okay.
regarding Notre Dame and forcing them into the conference, because part of the reason why Notre Dame won't go into a conference is because their TV deal with NBC is too lucrative right now.
Right.
Is there a world that, I don't know how long the current TV deal
Right.
is there a world that the Big Ten could try to force Notre Dame's hand
With NBC.
with NBC and try to take up another time slot? Like, hey, the Big Ten wants a 2:30 time slot and a night slot on NBC,
Right. I
or
think
will that piss CBS off because CBS has currently, Fox has the 11 a.m. slot,
right.
CBS has the 2:30 slot, NBC has the 6:30 slot.
Right. Where I think obviously all this is going to come down to the bill with the grant of rights deal. With they're trying to get it so the money's dispersed across all four conferences. And
Mm-hmm.
then there is no ESPN with the SEC, Fox with the Big Ten, all that
As,
goes away.
as there should be.
Right. And that's what the NFL did 5 or 6
Right.
years ago.
Correct.
Um, so I think a lot of that's going to depend because that's for the Power Four. I don't know if
Right.
Notre Dame's written into that. I haven't read the bill. I just hear what's talked about with the stuff Dellinger says. Um, it's all, I think, going to come down to that. I mean, Fox will never do primetime college football because they're not going to give up MLB playoffs,
Correct.
and
That's why they wanted that big. That's why they've
Big
tried to
Noon.
create Big Noon Kick.
Right. I mean, they got, and as soon as MLB playoffs get over, you got NASCAR playoffs that they get real into. Then you get into, as soon as the college football season's over, NFL starts playing games on Saturday nights. And then,
Right.
Fox is not going to give up that primetime slot.
No.
But where I was going to go with this is does the Big Ten make a play on the Fox saying, hey, we want that primetime slot? We're going to look at NBC. Boom, get Notre Dame, where you're talking about forcing Notre Dame out of NBC.
Right.
That could be,
Yeah, but the Big Ten already owns that 6:30 time slot on NBC.
yeah, that's true. With the worst commentators in college football.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's not Beth Mowens, but
that's true. Yeah, I think does Notre Dame go to the Big Ten? To the next question.
no.
It's going to be ACC.
Yep. And unless something was to happen where I don't think you're headed down that path right now. The only way that I think Notre Dame would end up in the Big Ten is if something happened where the Big Ten and the SEC just said, piss off, we're doing
Right.
our own thing, we're going to create a monster. See y'all later.
Right.
Right now, I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC get along well enough to do that.
Right. As much as Tony
It's,
Petitti wants to tell you that they get along and they talk every day.
it's kind of like Republicans and Democrats.
Right. 100%, dude. 100%. All right, let's get into schedule breakdown and team. I don't know what you want to call it, but start with Illinois. We're gonna go alphabetical order like we did in the SEC. Illinois, Brett Bielema going into his 5th year at Illinois brings in a new defensive coordinator, former Montana head coach Bobby Hauck. Brought in a new quarterback, Caton Hauser, who started the last 2 years at ECU. 3,300 yards, 20 touchdowns last year. Running back, Cleo Valentine, Aiden Laffery, combined for 1,000 yards last year, 600 of that by Laffery. They lost pretty much all their receivers. They, BLM, known for the trenches, offense, defensive line. But on the offensive line this year, they only returned their center. Got to find 4 new starters. And on defense, they lost their top 5 defensive linemen to the portal or graduation. Starting 3 new linebackers. Then they do have their starting corner and safety back with Matthew Bailey and Xavier Scott. And then Mac Reich also started a couple games for him last year. The biggest thing with Illinois is they got a layup of a schedule.
Yeah, outside of Ohio State and Oregon. Now, there's some games on there that I don't know that you can consider slam dunk wins.
Right.
Uh, you know, you can consider UAB a slam dunk, Southern Illinois a slam dunk, Purdue slam dunk, probably Northwestern slam dunk,
Mm,
probably
probably.
Michigan State slam dunk. But then they go to Ohio State, probably not winning at Ohio State.
Right.
They welcome Oregon in off of a bye for an 11
Right.
a.m. kick for those people
Yeah.
watching. We've broke this down already and looked at the schedule for
Yeah.
those of you that love big noon kicks. About a 9 a.m. Pacific kick in Champaign, Illinois for Oregon.
Right. Where did you have Illinois
I have
coming out
Illinois
at?
going. I have Illinois going 10-2,
That that's where I'm at, 10-2.
and I
Uh,
think there's a 4 game stretch there on the backside of Oregon that I was just getting to before
right.
you forced me to say what
Okay.
their record was. The 4 game stretch with Maryland, Nebraska, UCLA, and Iowa is probably the most important 4 games of their season.
Right.
I think 10-2 is their ceiling. I
Yep.
think their floor is 6-6.
Yep. I have them winning all 4 of those games. I could just as easily see them losing all 4 of those games. That is that's going to be fun to follow with Illinois. But that's where we have the Fighting Illini. Take a drink quick because I got a cough. Next up, defending national champions Indiana.
Did you ever think
Kurt's
you would say that line?
no,
Okay,
never.
just curious.
Um, the biggest key with Indiana, we brought it up earlier. They retained their whole coaching staff with Shanahan and Sunseri, the co-OCs, Bryant Haynes, the DC. And then this is where we get into they went hard in the portal again. Josh Hoover from TCU, Turbo Richard from Boston College, Nick Marsh from Michigan State, with Joe Bruner from Wisconsin. That's going to be four starters on the offense just right there. They do return Charlie Becker. I mean, he was by the end of the season, he was probably their top receiver or their most consistent receiver. Defensively, I mean, they got their starting D tackle Tyreek Tucker. He's back. They thought they were going to get both their defensive ends back, and then the NCAA came back and said, no, we're not going to allow, these guys that graduated last year to get the fifth year. Um,
But yeah, but
Linebackers
now what about the now what about I mean, this gets into the whole can of worms with what happened
with,
today with
with the
the
TRO.
TRO getting put in place to allow those 16 players to come back.
Right,
Like just a freaking giant mess.
right.
Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, they return both their linebackers, and then they return starting safety, um, Amari Farrell. Preston Zachman played a lot last year. Starting corner, Jamari Sharp and AJ Harris each have over 25 starts in their career. Like, they went hard in the portal. So, where do you see? Well, let's break down Indiana's schedule.
Yeah, I actually just looked at this a little bit closer than I had previously. How interesting would their opener have been a year ago?
Right, right. Against Eric
They opened,
Morris and
yeah, they opened with North Texas, who a year ago you would have been like, oh yeah, whatever. But coming out of
yeah.
that game a year ago, you might have been like, oh, North Texas
Well,
ain't.
and look how Indiana struggled with Old Dominion in week one last year.
Right.
Granted, a lot of that had to do with Colton Joseph, but
So in Indiana's schedule starts out really favorable. They're going to start out 5-0 for sure, probably.
right.
Then things get a little interesting because they're
Yeah.
going to go on the road to Nebraska.
Yep.
Could that possibly be a trap game? Does Indiana have
Yes.
certain? Does Indiana have games that are considered trap games?
If there is, it's that game because the following week they got Ohio State,
And the following week after that, they have Michigan.
Michigan. Right.
And then they get like after their first 5 games, things kind of get a little bit real for Indiana. You get Nebraska, Ohio State. You go to Nebraska, Ohio State, to Michigan. You get Minnesota, USC.
Yep.
You go to Washington, which we know Washington is a tough place to play at. And
Right.
then end the season with Purdue.
Perdon't.
I
Yeah.
have I have, I have Indiana going 11-1.
I have them at 11-1 as well with the loss.
I at once had them predicted 10-2, but I also once had
I
Illinois at 8-4. So
I could see an 8-4 Indiana. I mean, it's all going to come down to Josh Hoover.
yep,
Oh, we have to throw this in. Kale has them going 12-0 and winning the Big Ten.
correct.
So, Kale, we got you covered. Um, yeah, I mean that we talked about. They lose at Nebraska, then lose at Ohio State. Things could go south in a hurry.
And that's what I mean. Like with all these transfer guys, like at one point, like if they lose a couple games, do those guys start going at each other? Like there's not a culture there,
Right.
right? Like as much as you want to say Signetti that your team's got culture and we establish a culture, it's a bunch of transfer dudes. Like they're there to play 1 year.
Right. And to Signetti's credit, we have not seen this yet, but at the same time, how's Indiana when they have to face adversity? We haven't seen it the past 2 years, but this is not sustainable. And We just got to see him hit adversity.
Right. You have not seen an Indiana Kirk Cignetti team face adversity.
Right. All right.
And
Now we
maybe you
move.
never will.
Yeah. Their adversity is going to be when Signetti says, I'm done. Moving on to Iowa. Kirk Ferentz comes back for his millionth year as the Hawkeyes head coach. Um, kind of going through a quarterback situation. You got true freshman Jeremy Eklinski. I'll never pronounce his name right. And then Hank Brown. You sent the tweet from their scrimmage Saturday. Heklinski threw for 300 yards. Brown completed 3 passes. So I think we know where they're going to be heading at quarterback with Heklinski. Um, Outside of that, Kamari Moulton returns at running back. Reese Vanderzee, their top target from last year's back at receiver, went to Texas Rio Grande Valley to pull out Tony Diaz. What do you know about Texas Rio Grande Valley, Colin?
I know
Because
they're my nephew's favorite baseball team.
all right, there we go. Hey, they did make the NCAA tournament.
They did.
Um, Iowa. I don't think receivers matter as long as they got a tight end, and
Well,
they do this year.
you just said that they threw for 300 yards in their scrimmage, so
That
somebody
is true,
matters.
right? Offensive line: Trevor Luke, Cade Piper, Peeper. However, what's the correct pronunciation of that?
I think it's Piper.
Okay, Cade Piper. Both Big Ten, all Big Ten. They're back. Um, Defense is which Iowa credits himself on defense and special teams. Well, defense, they lost their whole front seven. They lost their top safety. But I mean, they do have their other safety coming back with what's his name? Zach Lutmer, Deshaun Lee, their top corners back. But and then when you go to special teams, LeVar Woods gone, their kicker gone, punter gone, Caden Wetjen, the Jet Award winner for top returner, gone. So the two things that Iowa banks on is where they're going to be, the most questions. Is Iowa going to be known for offense this year?
No.
um,
Here's the question. Here's what you got to talk about with Iowa. Is can Iowa out punt and out defense teams and continually win by letting teams beat themselves?
right. Well, go into their schedule because their first 3 Big Ten games, yikes.
Yeah, they play at Michigan, Ohio State, at Washington. Coming out of that, they get a bye,
Right.
and then they go to Minnesota.
Yep. Rivalry
Things
games.
things could get a little dicey
Yep.
because Wisconsin could be
Rivalry
okay.
game. Back to back
Northwestern
rivalry.
Northwestern could be okay. Then you get Purdue, then you get Illinois, then you get Nebraska. I think Iowa's floor is 5-7. I think their ceiling is 7-5.
Right. I had Iowa at 5-7. Losing Michigan, Ohio State, Washington, Minnesota, Northwestern, Illinois, and Nebraska.
I have them at 7-5.
Okay, so you got them beating obviously Northwestern,
Yep. And I
then
haven't beaten
Washington.
and I haven't beaten Nebraska.
Okay. They own Nebraska.
I am
I
not
just
going to pick Nebraska to beat Iowa until Nebraska proves to me that they can beat Iowa.
right. I mean, what is it? 11 of the last 12?
Something like that. I don't want to talk about it.
Right. All right. And there is the Iowa talk for the evening.
Cody's favorite
Now,
team, by the way, guys.
now we get into Maryland. We hit on Mike Loxley. He did bring in a new offensive coordinator, Clint Trickett from Jacksonville State. Unfortunately, he didn't get the Jacksonville State running back. But
I love Malik Washington, by the
yep,
way.
Malik Washington returns. Two running backs that they're really high on. Dewan Williams, who was already in the program, and then they brought in Harry Dalton from USC. Three new receivers. They get Dorian Fleming back. He was hurt a lot last year. They returned both their tackles, but then got to replace the interior of their line. Defense. This is where I was talking about the big news this week. Zahir Mathis. They're one of their. They had two freshman DNs last year. This was one of their studs. He is done for the year. Tore his ACL.
Oh
Um,
shoot, we can bring in a number 2 player in the country, a
right,
five-star defensive end to replace him.
right. So, and then they still have their other freshman, Sydney Stewart, which is sophomore now. Then, like you
How
just said,
how
number two
crazy
recruit
is
in the
it?
country, Zion Ali.
How crazy is it that the number 1 recruit in the country went to Houston and the number 2 recruit in the country went to Maryland?
It's
Like if that doesn't prove to you that there's parity in college football right now,
right,
I don't know what to tell you.
right. You just nailed it right on the head, man. Um, so yeah, they bring in Ellie, which he's just going to step right in for Mathis. They bring in the middle linebacker Daniel Wingate. He returns, and then they got two returning starters in the secondary,
Yeah,
and that is
Maryland's
Maryland.
Maryland's defense is going to defense.
Right.
They're going to be good. Maryland's going to go 7-5, maybe 6-6.
Yep. And I had Maryland at 6-6.
I think they win their first 4.
Yep.
Um, maybe that trip across the country to UCLA is
That it's at
little,
Maryland.
or yeah, at Maryland. So yeah, they're going to win their first 4.
Yep.
Then they go to Nebraska and to Ohio State back to back weeks.
Right.
Then they get Rutgers. Then they get a bye. Then they get Illinois. So you sandwich 3 losses in there for them.
Yep.
Kind of big games on Maryland's schedule for them is kind of swing games, I feel like, are the Nebraska game, the Wisconsin game, the
Illinois.
game, and then close out at USC, trip across country, and Penn State.
Penn State could be interesting to me. I want to talk about this for a second.
No, we are not talking about Penn State. Just
No,
stop.
no. I'm
No,
talking about
move on.
Maryland.
We'll talk about it when we get to Penn State.
Okay. All right. So, moving on. After Maryland, we get to Michigan, who brings in Kyle Whittingham, take over, brings his OC, Jason Beck. And
And a
if you
bunch of
saw what they
players
did,
from Utah.
yep.
Move
And
on.
if you saw what Jason Beck and Whittingham did with Devin Dampier, watch out because this could be a huge year
Yeah,
for Bryce Underwood.
you got to teach Bryce Underwood to throw the ball with some touch.
Right.
Um,
With their
find out,
running backs, they might not be doing a whole lot of throwing.
find
Jordan
find out
Marshall,
find
what's
out
up?
real quick about Michigan week 2
Yep.
when they host Oklahoma,
Right.
and then after that, if they can get by that game, it's pretty smooth sailing.
Yeah.
They got Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State on their schedule. Probably 9-3.
Yeah. I had them at 8-4. I do have them dropping the Oklahoma game. Michigan State. Pat Fitzgerald takes over. They got Alicio Milivojevic. He took over for Aiden Childs when Aiden Childs got benched. Interesting. They brought in Cam Edwards from UConn, who had a stellar year last year. Um, Otherwise, they don't have anything. Their whole team's built on transfer portal guys. O line, D line, linebackers, defensive backfield, receiver. It's gonna be gonna be. I think it's gonna be a rough year for Michigan State.
I don't.
I had them going 2-10.
Nah.
Where you got them sitting?
I have them going 4-8.
All right.
But
What?
I think there's a lot of games in there that you can you can flip if you're Michigan State.
Right.
Like that Nebraska game worries me. I think they could flip the Washington game. I think they could flip the UCLA game. I think their ceiling's probably 6-6.
Yeah.
And I think from where they were at, it's a huge improvement.
Yeah. Exactly. We talked about it. There's a lot beyond just the football that needs fixed at Michigan State. Moving on, Minnesota. PJ Fleck has a lot returning. Quarterback Drake Lindsey, running back Darius Taylor, Jalen Smith, and Javon Tracy at wideout. A lot of their O line, center Ashton Beers, Greg Johnson, Nathan Roy, freshman All American at tackle. Defensively, I mean, their biggest recruit they got was Anthony Smith coming back and not going to the NFL. Led 12 and a half sacks last year. Um, TJ Bush, transfer from Cal's, likely to play the other side. Linebacker, Maverick Baranowski, who feels like he's been there forever. He's back. And then they lose Coy Parrish. He transfers out, but they do have Kenny Brown, who started 22 games for him at safety. He's back. And then they've added a couple transfers in the corner position. And PJ Fleck is Mr. Consistency.
Ski Ma row the boat.
Yep.
They're gonna
I
go
like it.
7. They're gonna go 7-5. Big games against Mississippi State, Iowa, Northwestern, Wisconsin. They're gonna lose
Mississippi.
at Washington. They're gonna lose at Washington. They're gonna lose to Michigan. They're gonna lose at Indiana. They're gonna lose at Penn State. But that
Yep.
Mississippi State game is gonna tell you all you need to know about Minnesota. Probably
Right.
Minnesota's gonna win that game though because they're gonna line up and run the ball right at them, and Mississippi State ain't gonna know what to do.
Right. Now we get to Nebraska. Nebraska brings in Anthony Calandria. They, running back room, going to lean on Makai Nelson, Isaiah Mosey, kind of a running back by committee there. Corey Bonnie returns, and Isaiah Hunter returns. They bring in Quasi Gilmore from UCLA, return Luke Lindenmeyer, return likely the best center in the country, Justin Evans. Then Elijah Pritchett's back. Plus they got a new O line coach. Brought in a bunch of transfers on the O line. I think it's going to be the best O line that Rules had. Defensively, new defensive coordinator. Bring in Owen Chambliss and Dwayne McDougal, both who came with Arch from San Diego State. D line, you return your DNs with Lenhart, Pedshock, Winery. Bring in Owen Stoudemire from Boston College. Um, Linebackers, Shavers and Dawson Merritt are back. Defensive backs, they're loaded. That is Nebraska.
No, it's not. You left out the two most important players on the team, maybe.
What position?
Running back?
I talked about him.
No, you didn't. Let me introduce you to a fella named Jamal Rule. You're going to get introduced to him real quick week 1 against Ohio.
Yeah.
So they brought him in, and they brought in a linebacker named Deshaun Foster from Oregon State, who you're going to get introduced to real quick week 1 against Ohio.
Yep.
And you did not mention either one of those guys.
I did not mention either of those guys.
There's also another guy that I think you could get introduced to real quick too.
Quentin Clark.
A guy named Jashir Whittingham from Pittsburgh.
Yep.
You might meet him real quick week 1 against Ohio too. Those are probably outside. Like everybody knows that Nebraska brought in Connor Andrea and Quasi Gilmore. They know that. I think it's the lesser known guys like Jamal Rule, Jashir Whittingham, Deshaun Foster that are going to jump out to people right away. Deshaun Foster is a freak. I think people are going to be surprised when old Vincent Shavers isn't playing. Yep. Nebraska is going to play a 4-2-5, and you can only put 2 linebackers on the field.
Right.
And their names are going to be Owen Chambliss and Deshaun Foster or Dexter Foster. I don't know what his name is. Might be Dexter Foster.
Dexter Foster. Sean
Yeah,
Foster's a fired UCLA coach.
yeah, Dexter Foster. It just came to me. But like V9 is probably going to be playing in a backup role.
Yeah.
Nebraska's got a pretty favorable schedule to start. They play 3 cupcakes right out of the gate. Hopefully, you get to see a lot of points on the board. See what this offense is going to look completely different.
Right.
Um, I think you're going to see a lot of quarterback run. You're going to see a athletic quarterback that runs around the ball and scares the shit out of people half the time. You're going to
Yep.
see a quarterback that's going to turn the football over, and you're just going to go, "Gosh dang it, what are you doing?" But you're going to have to live with that because he's going to make some plays where you're going to say, "Holy
I'm
cow, I
so
can't
happy
believe he
we
just
got
did
him.
that!"
Right.
Like, um, I think the offensive line is going to be much improved. That's why I think they can beat Michigan State and Maryland. Then things get a little tricky because you get Indiana at home, which I think they probably lose,
Yeah.
even though I don't want them to. Then they got to go to Oregon, and I hope they just survive. I hope everybody has fun and they get back on the plane and come home healthy. And then this is the big one.
Yep.
Halloween night, Washington, black.
Blackout.
Well, I guess I shouldn't say Halloween night. They're trying to do their best to make that a Halloween night game.
Right.
Hopefully, it's a NBC kick, 6:30. But we'll see.
Did you see
That's
there's
it.
a petition out for the governor to recognize Halloween on that Friday?
No.
Yeah, I saw that floating around this week.
Then they go to Illinois, which is a little scary because that's on a Friday.
Yep.
The one thing that could be in Nebraska's favor is Illinois is probably going to just have their butts whipped against Maryland or Oregon 2 weeks before that.
Yep.
So hopefully Illinois is still feeling a little down on themselves. Then they go on a trip to Rutgers. And then we have to host Ohio State, unfortunately.
Yep.
And then we have to go to Iowa.
On a
I think
Friday.
I think Nebraska's ceiling is 9-3. I think their floor is 6-6.
Yep. And I had them at 7-5.
I have them at 7-5 as well. But I think I have them at a different 7-5 than you do because I'm pretty sure you have them losing to Washington,
Yep.
and I have them beating Washington, and you have them beating Iowa, and I have them losing to Iowa.
Correct. Yep.
Let's talk Northwestern.
I'll talk Northwestern. David Braun, 4th year, brings in Chip Kelly, Jerry Neuheisel, the Aiden Childs, whatever you want to call it. Who knows what Aiden Childs are going to get? Top running back Caleb Kamalafe returns, went for 940 and 11 touchdowns. Top receiver Griffin Wild returns, but they only returned 2 starters on the O line. Defensively, same thing. They lost a lot on the D line. They brought in a couple transfers. Linebackers, they got Braden Bruss returns. Safety, their top safety, like leader of their team. He's back. He had 115 tackles for him last year. And then they got Josh Fussell, Brendan Desfenerdez, and Braden Turner, all who've played a lot of snaps in the defensive backfield as well. I really like the matchup of Braun's defensive mind with Chip Kelly's offensive mind.
Yeah, here's the problem, Cody. Did you look at their schedule?
Yeah, I did.
It's probably the toughest schedule in the Big Ten.
It's all right.
And
Little
just
Colorado action.
just to let you know, Aiden Childs blows donkey dick.
Oh, he was terrible. That's why he got benched last year.
So I I think their ceiling is 4-8.
Really?
Like they're not beating Indiana.
No.
I'm not sure they beat Colorado.
Nah.
I'm not sure they beat South Dakota State.
Well, at least
They're not
Ron's very familiar with South Dakota State.
they're not beating Penn State.
And that's I do have them winning that one.
They're not beating Penn State.
Iowa State,
They'll
Iowa
beat
State
Ball
East.
they'll beat Ball State. Michigan State's a toss up. Rutgers is a toss up. They're not beating Oregon. Iowa's a toss up. They're not beating Ohio State. They're not beating Minnesota. They're not beating Illinois.
Yep. So I had them winning all the toss-ups, then losing to Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, Minnesota, Illinois.
Of course you did.
175.
Because you believe in Jerry Neuheisel for some reason and Chip Kelly.
Yep.
I don't. Because you don't change the leopard spots and Aiden Childs sucks.
Right. And she'll probably be benched by week 4.
And then who are you going to play? Preston Stone?
No. I don't even know who their backup is.
All right, let's talk Ohio State.
Ohio State. Start the year as the number 1 team in the country by the AP. Bring in Arthur Smith to be the offensive coordinator. They return Julian Saint at quarterback, Bo Jackson at running back, Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Ennis, receiver. And then they got 2 5-star freshmen who are likely going to start with Chris Henry at receiver, Nate
How about
Roberts.
how about you just say this? Ohio State returns everybody but what's on their defense.
Right.
Like
And
we don't need to list off everybody that they are bringing back because they bring back everybody on offense.
Right.
They got to replace Sonny Styles on defense. They got to replace the other outside linebacker,
Arvell Reese.
Yeah, and they got to replace 2 defensive linemen.
Right.
And
both their tackles on offense.
And 1 secondary guy. But when you have Jeremiah Smith, you can do what you want.
Right.
Ohio State's going to go undefeated, and they play both Oregon and Indiana and Texas.
Yeah.
Ohio State is why I said that I thought that the Big Ten would go 4 straight national titles.
Okay. I have them dropping that game at Texas. I don't know why.
Me either.
Considering last episode I was saying I think their coach is going to get fired. Oregon?
Yep. Oregon returns everybody. They return the most production in the country. And they have Dylan Raviola now.
They got a lot to replace on the O-line, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, when you recruit the way that Oregon recruits, I don't know that you're replacing the O-line, you're just reloading.
Yeah.
And their defense is legit good.
Yeah. And fast. And they added Coy Parrish.
Correct.
An All-American at safety. So
I think they'll be okay.
yeah.
They're going to go 11-1. They're going to lose when they have to go to Ohio State.
Now we get to Penn State. New coach, but it's basically Iowa State East.
New coach, new place, same team.
Yep.
And they have the easiest schedule in the Big Ten.
Right.
They miss all of the big dogs.
Yep.
And they host Michigan and USC. That's their 2 big wild cards. As much as I said that Matt Campbell could struggle in the Big Ten, it's not going to be this year because their schedule is cake. Unless something really happens and Washington and Maryland can push them, which they could. That game is at Washington,
Yep.
and that's not an easy place to play.
Yep. And where I was going to go with when we were talking about Maryland, and we were talking about that 3 game set with Illinois, Purdue, Wisconsin, they win those three. I could very much see Maryland beating Penn State there at the end of the year. So that'll completely change my thought process on Maryland.
It's possible.
Purdue, there's
Thank
not a
God
lot
that
you can say about Purdue.
thank God they play Indiana State.
Right. And
Maybe.
that might even be tough. Barry Odom, does he get fired after 2 years?
I mean, are you just going to keep firing coaches every 2 years if you're
Yeah,
Purdue at this point? Like at some point, you like Odom was a shit hire to begin with.
right.
So, I mean, it is what it is. Like their last two football coaching hires have been dog water.
Ryan Walters, great defensive coordinator, not a good head coach.
Yeah, terrible head coach.
I have Purdue 1-11.
I
I
have
don't know if
Purdue
there's
1 and
much
11.
more you can say about that. You get to Rutgers. I mean, you got Greg Schiano. He's going to be breaking in a new quarterback, but they do have one of the best receivers in the conference with KJ Duff. They returned pretty much their whole offensive line. Going to lean on Dylan Lonergan from Boston College at quarterback. Then defensively, they're a freaking mess. Worst defense in the country last year. Gave up 32 points a game. They got a lot to fix.
Yeah, and sad for them. It's not going to get much easier because, well, at least they play UMass, Boston College, and Howard.
Right. They got a rough draw in the Big Ten. USC, Indiana at home, at Maryland, at Northwestern, home against Michigan, at Wisconsin, home against Nebraska, at Penn State, Michigan State. Michigan State game could be a battle of what's left on the field for both of those teams.
Very true.
All right, moving on. UCLA, new coach Bob Chesney, who we talked a lot about earlier. He is bringing 19 players with him from JMU, 42 transfers overall, but they did retain Nico. And the biggest addition, Wayne Knight, coming over from JMU, 2,000 all purpose yards. Um, then added a lot of receivers, and then defensively, still a lot of questions. They do got a favorable schedule, though.
That they do. They get to start out 3-0.
Yep.
Then they got to go cross country to Maryland and come back across country and play Oregon. Luckily, there's a bye in there. Then they get to go on a nice little stretch at home with Wisconsin, Michigan State, and somehow Nevada sandwiched in there.
Yeah.
Then they got to go back to Minnesota, and then they close out Illinois, Michigan, USC. I
Rough
have
go.
I have UCLA going 7-5.
All right. I had them at 6-6. So pretty similar there. USC, they're basically returned everyone except for their receivers. Jade Mayava, stud, both running backs. They did lose their starting center for the year, but otherwise turned 4 of their linemen on offense. Defensively, new D coordinator. They brought in Gary Patterson. But I mean, they're loaded on defense just as well. With freshmen, with seniors. Number 1 recruiting class in the country. Yeah, USC is probably the 4th best team in the conference. I don't know if there's much argument.
I mean, I have them going 9-3, which would put them fifth in the conference,
Right.
sixth in the conference. But I mean, it's merely because they go 9-3 because they play Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana.
Right.
Like I don't foresee them winning any of those games. Maybe the Indiana game.
Yep.
Um, this is going to be Mayava's got a year and a half with Lincoln Riley under his belt, so could be better.
Yeah.
I thought Mayava was pretty good, but then I can't get that game against Nebraska and Lincoln out of my head from last year, where he was
Yeah.
just not good.
Right. Awful.
But also at that point in time, they really didn't have a running game either.
Right.
So
And then they found that.
yeah,
Yeah. 9-3. It's right there for them to take, but they got the three toughest games in the conference, or the three toughest teams in the conference.
yep.
Washington. Damon Williams tried to leave. School wouldn't let him, so he's back. We'll see how
Well,
this
no,
school.
no, 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 no.
He tried to go in the
He
portal,
he tried to stay, or he was staying, and then he decided he was going to leave. So he
but he
tried
had
to
already
stay
signed a
first. He tried to stay first. He tried to have his cake and eat it too. Is what really happened.
Right. Right. So he's back. They lose their two best players on offense with Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston, but they return a lot on offense otherwise with the offensive line, tight end. I'm probably going to be starting a freshman at tackle with Cody Green, 5-star. Then defensively, a lot of their big name guys, Alex McLaughlin, Isaiah Ward, they're all back. Zary Alexander. Then they got a big time recruit on the D line that's likely going to start at DN with Zadarius Rainey Sale. I really like Washington, but a lot of that's because I love Damon Williams.
Yeah, I mean, how many mistakes does he limit himself to? That's kind of dependent on Washington's record.
Right,
It's how many mistakes can Damon Williams not make?
right.
Um, you got USC. You're going to start out probably 3-0.
Yeah,
The Minnesota game week, or start out 3-0. Start out 3-0. Then you got Minnesota, who you can beat. So you could go 4-0. Then you get USC. Then you get Iowa at home. Probably, I see Minnesota and Iowa as a toss up. I think they win one, lose one.
okay.
Then you get Purdue. Then you get a bye, and then you got to go to Lincoln, which is kind of scary for Nebraska because Nebraska has a bye right before that too, and historically Nebraska is terrible off of bye weeks.
Yep,
So, and most teams are really good off of a bye week. So it's a little bit worrisome. But then Penn State's got to fly all the way across the country, and that could create that to be a toss-up game. Then you get
right,
Michigan State, kind of a little bit of a get-right game before playing Indiana and Oregon.
right.
I have Washington going 6-6.
All right. I had them at 9-3. Those last two games are brutal. Finally, we round out the Big Ten with Wisconsin. We've already talked about Fickle.
Well,
They got Colton Joseph at quarterback, and I know you are a big fan of Colton Joseph.
yeah. The question though is how long does he make it?
Right.
The last two transfer quarterbacks for Wisconsin have only made it not even 1 week. So
And that could be another year with starting out the year with Notre Dame.
right. So start out with Notre Dame, then you get two get right games. You get Penn State, then you get another get right game with Michigan State, UCLA, USC, Iowa, probably all losses. You get Rutgers, you get Purdue, and then Maryland and Minnesota are in there. I have Wisconsin going 5-7, and that being the end of Luke Fickle.
I had them at 6-6. But I still think it's the end of Luke Fickle.
If he goes 6-6 and goes to a bowl game, they won't fire him. So you better find a game winner that they lose if you think he's getting fired.
Right. All right. Do you want to get to what does Chat GPT say?
You betcha. You didn't ask. You didn't ask Grok who the best players in the conference were.
No, because I didn't think we were gonna have time. But then we went rapid fire there about halfway through.
So Chat thinks that Ohio State goes undefeated and wins the conference. Then they have Oregon at 11-1, Michigan 10-2, Indiana 10-2, Penn State 10-2, USC 9-3, Iowa 9-3, Washington 8-4, Illinois 8-4, Minnesota 7-5, UCLA and Nebraska 6-6, Maryland and Wisconsin 5-7, Rutgers 4-8, Michigan State 3-9, Northwestern 4-8, Purdue 3-9. Can never be good how close me and Chad are together on our
Right.
conference rankings. So that
I'm just trying to find out where Purdue's wins are.
Should tell you in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Chad gave us a pretty detailed report.
Yeah.
They have Ohio State beating Oregon 31-27 in the Big Ten championship game. And if that happens, that would mean that Ohio State would likely be the number one team in the country and the number one seed in the playoffs.
Yep.
Then Chat gives kind of a Big Ten tier ranking. They have Ohio State and Oregon as national championship contenders. They have CP college football level teams, Michigan, Indiana, Penn State. They have dangerous top 25 teams in USC, Iowa, Washington, and Illinois. The bowl teams are Minnesota, UCLA, and Nebraska. Fighting for a bowl, Maryland and Wisconsin. And then rebuilding, which is Rutgers, Northwestern, Michigan State, and Purdue.
Yeah. About the 5 predictions they're most interested in. Ohio State going 12-0 with a sweep of Texas, Oregon, and Michigan. Oregon 11-1 with their only regular season.
That's not right, because that would mean they would also sweep Indiana too.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, we kind of talked about it. Oregon goes 11-1, only losses to Columbus. And Michigan Columbus rebounds to 10-2, beating both Indiana and Penn State. And USC goes 9-3 and pulls off the upset at Penn State. And then Nebraska is 6-6, and it says I have the Huskers going 5-1. But the back half of Indiana, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, and Ohio State and Iowa causes the record to slide, which I kind of discussed in the Nebraska breakdown.
Right. All right. That is the Big Ten Conference without Kale. Maybe he'll be back Sunday.
We love you, Kale.
Please come back. We miss you.
Alrighty.
That's all I got.
See you, folks.